Lisa Marie Jenkins is a former Women of the Channel list. She spent 20 years in IT, and she just recently left Cisco about a year ago to pursue her passion and her dream of being a speaker, an author, and a coach. I did learn that she is not only a practitioner of yoga for the past 9 years, but she is now also an instructor for yoga. So another great dream that she's been able to follow. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up Lisa Marie Jenkins. Thank you.
When I was 8 years old, on Christmas Eve, 1971, my father had a massive heart attack and was taken to the hospital. He didn't come home. My mother became emotionally unavailable. She was suicidal for quite a few months. So not only did I drastically lose my father, my mother was not available at all. The reason I share this story with you is because there's always a gift in the obstacles and the trauma that we experience in our life. And this turned out to be the greatest gift of my life. So as a young child in 3rd grade, I developed a severe inferiority complex. So much so that I never even learned how to do a cartwheel. You might look at me today and say, wow, that's hard to believe. But I didn't learn to do a cartwheel because I was so afraid that I wouldn't do it right and somebody would laugh at me. During my struggles, I held back, I went within, and I cried a lot. And one day my mom said, "Why are you crying so inconsolably?" And I finally told her, "We're not as good as other people because we don't have a daddy." This was a belief that I held for a long time. Now, when I hit high school and I went through puberty and I blossomed and was starting to gather some positive attention for my looks, it gave me a little more confidence. And then I started observing people. And I really started observing those people that I saw as confident, sophisticated, intelligent, successful. And I said, why can't I just be that? So my defense mechanism to feeling very insecure actually became to act as if. So whenever I went into a room, I felt inferior, I felt overwhelmed, I felt not good enough. I said, you know what? I'm going to hold my head high, and I'm going to act like I own this room. The beauty of that acting as if, it became who I truly was. That fake it till you make it really works in every aspect of our life. Because I went on to create an amazing career in IT. I spent 20 years. And by the way, I know what Token Ring is. I was a #1 sales rep at Tech Data for Proteon Token Ring in 1989. So I've been around a long time. I've worked mostly in sales. But that confidence for me, and most of my career was in the field in sales, which is very male-dominated, as we know in our industry, and still is, and especially was in the 90s. I would just go for what I wanted. I focused on what can I bring to this situation. I want this job, I got it, it's mine, I'm going for it. I focused on what I could bring. I never gave any attention to where I lacked, ever. I just said, this is mine, I want it, I'm going for it, this is what I can bring. What I don't know, I'll bite off more than I can chew, and I'll figure it out as I go. I thought this was just kind of normal. When I moved into more corporate roles and started working with more women, I realized that for men, it was very common to do that. But for women, it was not. So what I want to talk to you about today is that confidence gap, why it exists, how we shift it, and why it's not even just important for you in your own careers and your own lives and your own personal dreams. It's important because we have something bigger at stake here, and women are going to be the ones that are going to lead this. I started with realizing courage is the foundation to confidence itself. And this is very timely because this is one of my most, oh, by the way, Here's my presentation in a nutshell. Okay. Okay, tell me that is not true in so many ways. So many ways. Right? As women, if we were still in grade school, ladies, we would indisputably be the rulers of the world because we were praised for being perfect. We were praised for being quiet. We were praised for following the rules and sitting quietly and not being heard. Turned us into approval seekers. Perfectionism is not about being perfect or being great. Perfectionism is about seeking approval from others. We as women have been trained to focus on where we lack, not what we bring. Tell me this isn't true for most of you. You go to bed at night and you say, I didn't get enough done. You wake up in the morning and you say, I didn't get enough sleep. You go to the mirror in the morning and you say something not so nice to yourself. Probably something that you wouldn't even say to somebody you didn't like. I know for me, I can go, I didn't get enough done. Oh my God, I didn't get that done. Oh my God, I forgot to take care of that. I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I'm still tired. I go to the mirror, I go, oh my God, it's time to spend $200 to cover my gray again. Oh my God, why does a dimply belly come with 50? Like, what's up with that? Like, raccoon eyes. So I have to consciously train myself to go, not today. I'm affirming myself. You're rocking it for 50. You go, girl. Go get after it. That's what we have to learn to do. Right? So when you go to bed at night, and I know this group of ladies, because the ones I've talked to, you're already rocking it. You're fabulous, successful, talented. Go to bed and say, oh my God, list the things in your head that you did do. Celebrate how much you accomplished. Put your attention on what you brought, what you did, because what you focus on is what grows. So you focus on where you lack, that's what grows. Focus on what you bring, what your value is, that's what grows. And in the morning, before you get out of bed, spend a couple minutes visualizing your day. See the meetings you're going to, who you're going to be interacting with. See how you want it to be. See how you want it to flow. Visualize how your day is going to unfold and expand for you. And go to the mirror, and I don't care what it is, find something about yourself that you can say, I love that about you. You are a really great person. You are really genuine. You are really kind. Whatever it is, find something to affirm. Celebrate who you are. That is the biggest step in turning that around. I make a lot of effort now in how I want everything to flow. I visualize this presentation in my head at least a dozen times. And I can get a little woo-woo, right? So like I'm a yoga meditation person. But I had a date not too long ago, and we went to this very popular sushi restaurant in Tampa. It was a Friday night at 7, and parking is horrible at this restaurant. So as I'm driving along, we're meeting there. I'm driving along, and I'm like, I see myself pulling in the parking lot. This parking space opens up right at the front door. So I pull in, car backs out, I pull in right at the front door. Go and sit at the table. My date comes in a few minutes later. He's like, oh, wow. He goes, I saw your car. He goes, you got rock star parking. He goes, you call ahead? And I said, yeah, kind of. I wasn't really going to tell him that because he might think I'm a little, like she's a little wacko. HP did a study, and I love this because it really is so poignant in this whole thing. They wanted more women to go for senior management roles, and they could not figure out why women weren't applying. So they did a study, and what they found is women told themselves they had to have 100% of the qualifications before they'd apply. A guy, I got 60% of that. I got it. I'm going for it. That's the difference. We focus on proving our competence. Look at this room. Look at each other. We have closed the gap on middle management. We are half the workforce. We earn 60 to 65% of graduate and undergraduate degrees in the United States. We have proven that intellectually we are powerful and we are equals. Yet, we're not really speaking up about it. And this has come up like 3 times now in sessions about tooting your own horn, self-promoting. And women have this belief that it's bragging. Right? But here's the part that you really probably haven't thought about, is when you talk about your successes in a way that is how you brought value or changed something, you're teaching that other person how to do the same thing. So it's not about bragging. What I love about where we're going today is we're out of this authority, expert learning, and we're going into collaborative peer learning. Because the best way to learn is from your peers, because you only need to be 2 steps ahead of somebody else to teach them what you know. And that's where women can really bring that. So I wanted to pay tribute to Maya, because she recently passed. She's one of my most favorite people in the whole world, and I love her quotes. And I realized that courage is always foundational to building confidence, because it takes courage to do the right thing. It takes courage to speak up. Have you ever been in a meeting of any kind and you had an idea, a thought, and it was surging through you like adrenaline, but it was unconventional? It maybe was intuitive, and you didn't share it because you were worried that it would go against convention, people would think you were crazy, it just was weird, and so you held it in? Anybody done that? Raise your hand. Held back. Everybody in the room. What I've learned about that for me, especially my last 3 years, I was in the engineering organization in cloud services, dealing with engineers all day long at Cisco. What I learned about that is that was absolutely my internal GPS saying, say it, speak it, be heard. Your message needs to get out there. Your idea needs to get out there. Because it's never the masses that drive change, right? They're usually people considered radical thinkers for their time. And I love Sheryl Sandberg's book. I read it a long time ago when it first came out. And not because I agreed with every single thing in it. I mean, I have a very different life than her, obviously. But she is somebody of power and magnitude and influence that is bringing great attention to this wave, this women on the move, this momentum. If you look, there's women conferences going on like this everywhere. It's so exciting. And you are privileged women to be here. You get to take a day out of the office and come to a conference to enrich your life. Right? With the cost of this conference, there are many women in many countries that they don't even make that in a year. Right? So as Western privileged women, we're kind of the custodials to lead. We're meant to lead this movement. We're meant to lead this way. And I want to set this precedent right now, because I'm going to go into something that could be a bit controversy. By no means, when I say masculine and feminine, am I ever talking about men and women. I'm talking about the yin and the yang. I'm talking about the balance, right? The masculine is the take action, the move forward, the linear, the logical, analytical, which men are mostly, because they haven't been given permission to feel, to process emotions, those sort of things. The feminine is the inspired. It's the creative. It's the love. It's the feeling. It's the caring about the greater impact for the greater good. We all have to have a balance of that. And as a society, as a world, we're way out of balance. We're way over here at this masculine side. We needed it for evolution, right? We needed that take action, move forward. It got us technology. It got us bridges. But like everything to find balance, it has to swing to the other extreme. And right now, we have to extreme to invoke the feminine in the world. Inspired action. Because no longer can a company's bottom line only be about profit. A company's bottom line for sustainability has to be about how are you impacting the greater good of humanity and the world and your organization and your community. And so when you see companies like Zappos.com, it's like, yay. Like thought leaders, really exciting stuff. So courage is a muscle. It's just like going to the gym. Let's say I decide I want to reach a certain fitness level. I go to the gym, I work out, I'm like, okay, where I want to be, my BMI, my weight, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't have to work out anymore, right? I'm good, I got there. Courage is the same way. Use it or lose it. It's a practice. So I ask each of you to do something every single day, just something little that scares you, because it's a muscle you build. The more you flex it, the stronger it gets, and then you can take on even the bigger things that scare you. So courage is the foundation to building confidence. And action and confidence are interrelated, because taking action, taking risk, failing, persevering, those all take courage. But when you do those things, when you take those actions, you build the confidence, even when you fail. And when you look at innovation, we talk about innovation all the time in our cultures. Innovation, innovation. But creativity drives innovation. And what's behind creativity? Vulnerability. The ability to be seen, the ability to be heard, the willingness to look silly. Creativity comes from passionate people brainstorming new possibilities. There's no amount of strategy, technology, or money that can equal a group of passionate people like you brainstorming new possibilities for our world, not just your companies, but we all play a role in that. So courage is your foundation, but passion is your fuel. I facilitated a little roundtable at breakfast talking about passion, and some people had trouble getting in touch with what passion really meant. We're born with passion. It's innate in us, totally innate. We come into this world as pure passion. Think about a baby walking, right? When that little baby gets up and starts taking its first little Frankenstein steps, right? Is that baby not pure joy, pure passion? How many times does that baby fall down before it masters walking? Hits his or her head, right? Does that baby ever go, I made a mistake, I'm not going to walk? Right? No, they're so fueled with passion, they're like, damn it, I'm going to master this. I don't care how many times I fall and bump my head on the coffee table. We got to get that back. It's who we are. And I think as women, we confuse our roles in life for our purpose. Being a mother, being a wife, being a career person, that's a role you play. That is not who you are at your core, and that is not your passion. You may be passionate about your job and your career. That's good, but it's not who you are. It's a role that you are playing. And because we are so busy, right? Execute, execute, execute. My dear friend Mimish from Cisco, we had this conversation recently, and I felt at Cisco, everything was deadline-driven, and everything was about the speed of which we did things and executing, executing, executing. And I'm like, wait, did anybody bother to check in if this feeds our mission or our vision or how this impacts a partner? Or is this really matter? Like, what's in it for the partner and why should he care? Like, that used to drive me crazy. We're just executing to execute for the sake of not checking in of the greater purpose. And who's it serving? I can't tell you how many marketing documents I looked at Cisco when I was in strategy, and I'm like, if I was a partner, and you be a partner, why would I care? What's in this for me? Right? We put out these really beautiful, elaborate programs and things, and you're like, where's the impact? So what I'd like for you to do is to get out of your role for a minute and turn to somebody next to you and describe, don't overthink this, just say what comes to mind. Say to the person next to you, describe your life right here, right now, in one word. Okay, that's way more than one word. That's way more than one word. Okay, anyone want to share? Would anyone like to share what they heard of the clap if you can hear my voice? Anybody want to share what they heard at their tables, or anybody give me any comments? Nobody? What is it? Blessed. Love it. Anything else? I'm sorry? Hectic. Anybody have any stressed, overwhelmed, chaotic? So start noticing how you perceive your life and your world and shift it to, my life's expanding and unfolding every day. Switch it to positive, what you want it to be. Because what you put out there is what you bring. If you say you're stressed, guess what? You're going to be more stressed. If you say I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm elated, you're going to be more of that. So playing big. I'm not really big on all this content. I want to give you guys a bunch of studies, but I think this is important because if you look at the most desired traits are considered feminine traits, we got this, ladies. We got this. Stop focusing on competence. You don't need to prove your competence. We got it. You've nailed that. Move on. Right? But if you look at the two that are considered masculine, resilient and decisive. What's underneath both of those? What's behind being resilient and being decisive? Confidence and courage. Courage and confidence. My mother used to always say to me as a young adult, damn it, Lisa, right, wrong, it doesn't matter. Just make a decision, move forward. Right? Like, I learned to do that. Like, okay. But that's what women, I know that we overthink, we overanalyze. It doesn't matter if you make a decision and it's wrong and you make a mistake or you fail, because there is great lessons and growth in that, and that's how you get better. Let me tell you, going out on your own as an entrepreneur when you're used to all these resources and all these people to support you, and it's suddenly just you, and I'm my own IT department, that's scary. Even though I came from IT, you don't want me working on your computer. So just work on, make a decision. There's no wrong decision. And also, a decision doesn't have to be forever. We put so much emphasis on decisions as it's such a big deal and it's going to be forever. Make a decision. You're going to learn from it, even if it's wrong. So here, just notice, we got this. If this is the 10 competencies desired for modern leaders and they're feminine, and by the way, there's a reason, like men haven't been allowed to develop their emotional intelligence. They really haven't. That's a whole nother, that's somebody else's work, it's not mine, right? But they've kind of been imprisoned in their own brains because they have to be strong. They can't show weakness. They can't show emotion. They can't really express. And then there's also a physiological reason. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. So in the left and right hemisphere of the brain, it's only connected by one thing. It's a channel called the corpus callosum. So it's what allows you to transfer from right brain, left brain functionality. And in a man, that channel is much more narrow than in a woman. They have a bandwidth problem. Truly, they do. They do. They have a bit. So think about it. Here's a perfect example. You go to a counseling session with your husband, and you talk about deep emotional stuff. You're processing that real time. Your husband, spouse, partner, whatever, he's got to go home for a couple days, maybe in his cave, before he can fully process what just happened. Right? There really is a reason for that. So we have the intellectual competence. And we need to bring in this feminine piece. Because the world needs there's a reason they call it Mother Earth, right? There's a whole lot of healing that needs to happen. We need to rehumanize. I sat through a webinar. I'm doing some consulting work with Cisco, and I sat through a webinar, and these were two fabulous directors presenting to partners. And I got off that webinar, and I was like, did they forget there were human beings on the other end of that? Like, they could have been robots out there. And it's really easy in our world to become robots. I know. I raised two kids. They're 20 and 23 now, and I was a single mom, and I traveled, and I often felt like a robot because it was just get it done, get the list done, get through the day. And somebody talked earlier about being present. It's critical because I read this article recently about, and not to be a downer, but it was the 5 most common regrets people make on their deathbed. 2 of the 3 were, I didn't have the courage to express my feelings. I didn't have a courage to live a life that was true to me. Instead, I lived a life that somebody else expected of me. Courage, courage, courage. So you've all seen these stats. They're right there in Sheryl Sandberg's book, or something close to them. But what you may not realize is that at the current trajectory, 3 centuries for women to reach parity with men when it comes to executive level roles. Ladies, we don't have 3 centuries. We don't have 3 centuries. We are number 14 in the world as far as well-being, emotional, physical, mental well-being. We are the number 1 arms trader in the world. We are number 3 in decimating our resources. This is way more than just about you and living your dreams. But here's the good news. When you live in your own passion and purpose and dreams, and when you support another woman and you stand in your power, you give her permission to do the same, and it's all a contribution because every single one of you have a unique gift, message, value that is as unique to you as your thumbprint. And you were all born into this very transitional time where we've been driven by this very patriarchal masculine power, which was needed. We need to swing this pendulum to the other side so that we can find balance. And it's when we do that, we free up men to be who they are. Men will tell you, oh my God, my wife is amazing. She does this and this and this, and I can't believe how powerful she is. I just wish she was more confident and she would step out. I've heard many male managers say, I have great female support managers on my staff. I just wish they would have the courage to speak up more and share their gifts. Because we bring a level of insight they just can't bring yet. But when we step into that, it's a time of, we need to say, hey guys, we'll take it from here. We'll take it from here. Let's pick up and let's rehumanize this. So 10 critical components of global leadership. Women outscored men on 7 of the 10. Those are the ones you see in black. Women tied men for only 2. Those are the ones you see in red. There is only one of these components that men outscored women. It's not listed. Anyone want to guess what it is? Envisioning. Envisioning. Envisioning is about getting articulate with what you want to create, and spending the time projecting that. What I heard today, it was really cool about if you were 16, what would you tell yourself now if you were 16, or what would you tell yourself now when you were 20? Why don't we do that right now? Right? Why don't you be 60 and say, what would you tell yourself right now at age 40? What would you tell yourself to do? Because when you look at people that take great risk and do great things, they do that sort of thing to themselves. I'm going to draw a blank on his name, Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon.com. He was a Wall Street financial guy, avid reader, was passionate about the internet. He left and said, I'm going to start an online book company. And he really struggled with that because he was making good money. He was doing all right. He said his final decision came from taking that risk. And he started in his garage. His final decision came from, he goes, if I was 80, would I regret not trying to make it happen? Win or lose? And he said, yes, I would regret it. So that's my cue, I'm going to do it. So my workshop is focused on learning to be a visionary. Some people say you're either born with that skill or you're not. I say, It's a skill that can be taught. We've just been too others focused. We've been too focused on our roles and proving competence, focusing on where we lack instead of what we bring. And celebrating ourselves, really celebrating ourselves. Because we owe it to the world. And I love this. The Dalai Lama at the Peace Summit said, the world will be saved by the Western woman. I take that to heart. Because I have to speak for those women that can't speak for themselves. And if you go back in history and you look at the women's suffrage movement, and by the way, and I have a little card that I'm going to hand out with some references, but there's a movie called Iron-Jawed Angels, and Hilary Swank portrays Alice Paul, who is one of the main drivers of women's suffrage. Those women dedicated their lives, their safety, to give us the right to vote. We're not even at 100 years that we've had the right to vote. These women were considered radical thinkers of their time, and these were not uneducated women. These women were Harvard graduates, right, that were driving this change. But watch this movie. Not only will you feel indebted with gratitude, but you will feel, hopefully, inspired that I need to pick up the ball and continue blazing a trail like they did for us. Because we take that for granted. And I'll tell you, right here in the United States, I have a young woman that cleans my house for me. She's from Florida at 13. She was abducted from her home and put in sex trafficking and driven every night into a nude bar to the back rooms. She escaped at age 16. You don't think that stuff's going on right here? Who's going to speak for those? Right? Her passion now at 26 years old is to really heal herself so she can go out and speak and create awareness and put it to an end. So my workshop is on visioning. So if you want to join me, please do. And here's one piece that I haven't, this is a touchy subject, but women support, what was the quote from, there's a really great place in hell for women that don't support other women? I call this the 3 C's, because this is what women do to each other. We compete, we compare, and we criticize one another. It's awful. Stop it. Right? Just stop it. And the next time, even if you're not the one contributing, but you're hearing it and you're standing there listening, then you're contributing. It's no different than somebody getting bullied on a bus as a kid, and somebody else doesn't step in and do anything about it. Just stop it, because we are creating the glass ceiling. Our oppression is from us competing and comparing. I say, well, if you get a piece of the pie, and you get a piece of the pie, then that means there's less of the piece of pie for me. Stop looking at it from scarcity, because the strength is in our unity. And in our unity, we are powerful beyond belief. So start developing clarity for your life. Envision the life you want, the role you want. Courage, and then your confidence. Those are the 3 C's. So quit comparing, competing, criticizing. Start developing clarity, confidence, and courage. That's the unity message. So right now, I want you to celebrate and claim something about yourself, because what I've learned is that when we say it out loud and we say it to somebody else, we affirm it in ourselves and then we commit to being it. So your life art, that is like, what is your gift? What can you say? I'm really good at this. I'm really good at this, and I bring a lot of value when I do it. So just turn to somebody next to you and just say, I'm really good at this. Start practicing. Start tooting your horn. Okay, clap if you can hear my voice. Clap twice if you can hear my voice. Clap 3 times if you can hear my voice. All right, so was that so hard? Start doing it. Start doing it regularly. This is something I learned when I went through my coaching course, and I had coaching buddies, and that we would have to meet every week on the phone and work through some of the tools we were learning. And we decided that the first thing we were going to do on our phone call with each other is say what we could celebrate about ourselves our last week. So make it this is something you can formulate in your own companies. Start a meeting with, what can I celebrate about you today? Where have you had wins? What are you proud of? So I'm going to leave you with the feminista. So this is a word that I coined because I do not like the word feminist, right? It sounds angry, right? It's got a lot of negative, angry connotation to it. It was, women versus men, that kind of thing. And my 20-year-old son even said to me, he's kind of proud of me, and I have my own website, and he shares it with other adults when he meets them. And he's like, Mom, I show your website to people, and you know what they say about you? And I'm like, what's that, Trevor? They said, wow, your mom's a feminist. And I'm like, the problem with that is? But the point is, it has a negative connotation. So the feminista, right? It's kind of sexy, sensual, because it really is, the feminista is about the bonding of sisterhood to create this tidal wave of change in healing and transforming our world. And each of you have a responsibility to that, especially as a Western privileged woman. This crown has been bought and paid for you. All you have to do is put it on your head and live it. Act as if. I'm going to tell you a story. The reason I have belly dancing up here is 2 reasons. Number 1, the origins of belly dancing was a community of women coming together to belly dance for the sole purpose to strengthen their abdominal muscles and their pelvic floor to make childbirth easier. Right? Somehow it got twisted into a man's entertainment, right? Like, I don't know, just saying. I took a belly dancing class a couple of years ago. It is hard. It is very hard, by the way. But I want to tell you this story because